E4 Spanish Winter Championship went back on track at the always exciting Autódromo Internacional do Algarve in sunny Portugal for the second run of the winter calendar, with 3 more races where the protagonists from a few weeks back in Jerez found themselves duking it out on track again. Thomas Strauven drew first blood by taking pole position for race 1 ahead of Przyrowski, with rookies Ian Aikmans and Vivek Kanthan on the second row of the grid. And it was the latter who first fell off the fight for the top spots of the race, as he got stuck on the grid at the start, watching the rest of the field speed away, fortunately without any further incident. However, before the first lap was over, a clash between Stepan Suslov and Yannis Steven Haydens had brought the safety car out, leaving also both drivers out of the race. 10 minutes later, the pack saw the green flag, with Strauven keeping the lead of the race once again, this time with Przyrowski having to defend himself from a hungry Aikmans in third, who had every intention to challenge the Polish driver for second. With 1/3 of the race gone in a blink of an eye, all the drivers were eager to get back to racing, and the first few corners already saw sparks flying between the competitors. And it wasn't long before another crash brought the race to a halt, this time as Niklas Saufler had enough and spun back into the track. Santiago Bastarrica found himself unable to avoid the contact, which brought 2 more retirements and a second safety car period. At the restart, with just under 7 minutes to go, Strauven found himself having to contend with a confident Aikmans, who was now second and looking to aim for a first win of the season. However, the Griffin Core by Campos driver kept his cool and stayed ahead, with Aikmans second and Fegali third, both benefiting from a spin from Przyrowski earlier in the race. With just a few minutes to go, the action intensified right away, with several drivers taking extra risks to try and improve their standing before the end of the race. So much so that yet another crash, this time between Vivek Kanthan and Jean-Paul Carras, brought a third and final safety car period, which lasted until the checkered flag, leaving the race to be completed in the order it had been running when it was neutralized. Therefore, with just a handful of laps under green flag conditions, Thomas Strauven took his first win of the season, ahead of Ian Aikmans and Red Bull Junior Christopher Fegali, while local hero Noah Monteiro took his best result so far with a 4th place. It was without a doubt a sensational result for Belgian Motorsport, with 2 of their 3 drivers on the podium, but also one that shows how close the field is in the E4 Spanish Winter Championship, with 3 different squads being represented in the top 3 spots of the race. The second race of the weekend, also run on Saturday, was the sprint race, programmed to 20 minutes plus 1 lap instead of the usual 30 plus 1 lap, and after an incident-filled race 1, drivers were definitely looking forward to a cleaner time on track this time. Starting from pole position, thanks to the reverse grid regulation, Miguel Costa initially led the field ahead of Sasha Van Bosch, but it was not to last, with contact between the two changing the look of the race, causing yet another appearance of the safety car. On the restart, Filippo Fiorentino tried his best to defend first place from Costa, with Strauven coming in from behind, leading a gaggle of cars with every intention to fight for the podium. It was a spectacular sight between the 3 of them, side by side into turn 5 and continuing on for several minutes as they tried to outmaneuver each other, knowing that a win was in the cards, while the drivers outside of the podium went on with their own fights for position, in some cases leading to various tense situations on track, though none of them were severe enough to bring back the safety car. That is, until 2 different incidents at the same time, one involving Andrei Petrovic and Ivan Agnostiadis, and another with a solitary spin by Q Holly, forced the hand of race direction, which neutralized the competition for the second time. But unlike in race 1, this time around there was a restart, with just over 2 minutes left on the clock and with everything still to fight for at the top. And it was the Campos boys who kept the action strong, with a fantastic fight between teammates, seeing Costa trying to defend his race lead from a very determined Strauven, who wanted to follow his earlier race win with a second success. Both drivers pushed each other hard but fair, and eventually it seemed like the Brazilian was managing to pull ahead safely, especially as his defense allowed Yannis Steven Haydens to attack his countryman. However, not even being brought back to third and having virtually no time to react was enough to make Strauven keel over, and he quickly reacted to take back second place from Steven Haydens and first from Costa in just a few seconds, and using all his space to run away with the lead, leaving his 2 erstwhile rivals to fight for second. But there's always room for one more rival, or several, and so the group duking it out for the podium only got bigger as more and more drivers joined the fray and the action intensified. In the end, Thomas Strauven took a second win ahead of Yannis Steven Haydens and Christopher Fegali, but neither of these two would get to keep their podium finish due to post-race penalties alongside Miguel Costa, which ended up promoting Vivek Kanthan and Noah Monteiro to second and third respectively, giving Campos a full presence in the top 3. For Strauven, this result, combined with one more dose of bad luck for Przyrowski, who had retired earlier in the race, meant that the Belgian managed to steal the lead of the championship from his rival. And after having taken the pole position and both wins and fastest laps on Saturday, and with one race still to be run on Sunday, Strauven promised to aim for a perfect weekend. But to that end, he would still have to fight very, very hard. The last race of the weekend started with a continuation of the developing storyline of the second round of the season at Portimão. Thomas Strauven managed to snatch pole position away from his rivals, meaning if he wanted to take that perfect weekend, first he had the task of defending the lead of the race into the first corner, where he was followed by rookies Vivek Kanthan and Christopher Fegali, as well as Przyrowski, who both wanted and needed a good result to keep his chances of fighting for the title. When the dust settled, the Belgian was in the lead ahead of Przyrowski and Fegali, while Kanthan was left in 4th place, chasing after the Red Bull liveried machine, seeking another 1, 2, 3 for Campos in what could be a fantastic weekend for the team. Meanwhile, fights raged on in the back of the field, where there is always a position to be gained, even when there are no points in play. But of course, especially when they happen inside the top 10. Luckily, the second feature race, the last of the weekend, was markedly cleaner than those of Saturday, which meant that for once, drivers could get bang for their buck and run without being interrupted. This lack of interruption meant that the drivers could show their skills without being overly eager, leading to cleaner races despite the intensity of the racing in the Portuguese roller coaster that is the Autódromo Internacional do Algarve. For the most part, especially during the first part of the race, this meant that the duels on track were solved without much drama, but eventually the impatience started to creep in, leading to car damage like it was the case for Emma Felbermayr after a contact on track. With a compact grid such as this one, the race offered all sorts of face-offs in all possible latitudes of the field, leading to a good amount of action both inside and outside the points. In particular, Turn 5 proved to be a favorite, as shown by the amount of overtakes the downhill hairpin saw throughout the whole weekend and indeed, the Sunday race. And at the front of the field, Kanthan and Fegali gave a fantastic show while dueling for 3rd place, which would also mean the rookie win for whomever stayed ahead. Despite the strength of the Lebanese driver, who has been on the podium twice this season and has shown himself to be perfectly capable of fighting at the top, in the end it was Vivek Kanthan who prevailed. And behind them, the fight for 5th place went on and on until the closing stages of the race, with Nathan Tye showing once again that he is one of the most capable drivers when it comes to gaining positions back during the race. In the end, a minor mistake by Strauven gave Przyrowski his chance to complete the overtake and earn himself the first win of the weekend. Thomas Strauven finished 2nd, and Vivek Kanthan rounded up a fantastic day for Campos with his 3rd place. Leaving behind the second round of the E4 Spanish Winter Championship, Thomas Strauven is the new championship leader. The Belgian may not have managed the perfect weekend, but he came tantalizingly close to it, and now sits in 1st place with just a 3-point advantage over Przyrowski in 2nd. Behind them, Kanthan is 28 further points adrift from the pole, as the first rookie in the points table, with René Lammers in 4th and Nathan Tye in 5th place. The championship will now face a 1-week break before heading back to Spain, to the Circuito de Navarra in Los Arcos, where these drivers will run the last 3 races before the start of the regular season, crowning our first champion of the year.